maybe a very different explanation of what we've just heard. And it's very close to what Brian just said. When a guy like Pythagoras got his inauguration in the great pyramid of Cheops, one of the first things his consciousness went through was a deep explanation that every matter is just a very low frequency of light. So finally, there is nothing else than light. Okay? So the experience we have about matter is, as you just said, a complete illusion. But the experience, the day-to-day experience of mankind through centuries and ages, makes us believe that that's the reality. But the reality is far beyond it. Call it a controlling mechanism, which is such a high frequency we even can't imagine. And now, if you think about an unbelievably huge range of frequency from whatever point in space and dividing it by octaves, down and down and down, if it comes close to what we can understand by our thinking and consciousness, then it comes down to a more or less subconscious feeling. The subconscious feeling turns into numbers. The numbers, that's the formula of things. The numbers turn into letters. The letters turn into words. The words turn into sentences. And that's the very uncomfortable way of communicating with each other. Can you imagine what the difference is between what we know and so-called truth? Is immense.
You see, musicians are physicists, philosophers. You cannot have a concert. So it's a direct communication between scientists and artists. This is the perfect combination. You cannot have any other concert when there is a so clear communication between a professional scientist and artist and musician. This is really an ideal situation. So that's why we are having a scientific concert in South Sense, because they know what they are playing. So they feel what they are playing. So there is a perfect combination of science and music and arts. It's quite unique, very unique.
Hola, buenos días. Para el señor Brian, una y una segunda pregunta que puede contestar cualquiera de los atenciantes. Señor Brian, ha hablado mucho de la experimentación. Usted en su momento experimentó con Guía Special. Yo no sé si hay algún tipo de conexión, si es comparable las dos experiencias, tanto la de sus inicios como la que está experimentando en estos momentos. Y en una segunda pregunta en general, yo no sé, este congreso que tiene la oportunidad de unir a leyendas musicales con leyendas espaciales, ¿cómo se lleva la conexión entre las dos facetas?
Okay. Well, again, the last question first, if that's okay. I have found it thrilling, I have to say. I have been excited about the universe and astronomy all my life. And I definitely had dreams of being a space pilot when I was a boy. I used to read The Adventures of Dan Dare every week in the Eagle comic, And I imagined myself out in the universe, spreading the great things which we share as the human race. I never dreamed really that I would actually meet and talk and eat and drink with people who in real life had walked in space and walked on other bodies in our solar system, notably the moon. So it's been a thrill, and they're wonderful people. It's been a great experience for me to interact with these people and to hear what they have to say. They have an altered consciousness about the Earth because they are the people who have seen the Earth as a little marble from space. And I would guess nothing is ever quite the same after you've done that. So I've really enjoyed the experience so far, and I think we get on, definitely. I will be speaking this afternoon, very nervously, because my view is different because of the life that I've led, and I have some questions to ask. And I'm nervous of asking them, to be honest, but I think humanity has to think very carefully about the way in which it goes forward in space exploration. What was your first question?
Perdón, hablaba de que hablaban en la primera parte de esta conferencia de que hay mucha experimentación en lo que se está haciendo. Yo no sé si encuentra alguna comparación con lo que experimentó en su momento cuando creó Special Rate.
Experimentation is a part of life for a musician, and the musician cannot help but experiment. Even if he tries to stick to a rigid path, things will always happen. Depending on what is going through his head when he's trying to play a particular thing, it will come out different. And to me, I treasure that kind of almost random experience that happens, but it's not random, it's connected to your thoughts and emotions at the time. And I think a lot of my history as a musician has been trying to find the balance between structure and allowing oneself the freedom to improvise. I would also say that, so really nothing has changed for me. I'm just a boy or a man discovering what there can be in music. But I do find myself, as I get older, having experienced so much of the complexity which we have helped to create, I find myself looking for simplicity. And I don't know if Edgar will agree with me on this or not, but I find myself looking for simplicity, for basic truths, basic core feelings to transmit and share. And the moments when I feel that we find this simplicity in what we do, I find sometimes are the most rewarding. I'm going to hand over to Ed because he's going to be much more eloquent on this than I am.
I agree with Brian 120% on simplicity, even if the music we produce doesn't sound like that. But we are on our way. One example, the real simplicity is like taking a prism, right? You've got the white beam from one side, call it the most simplistic symbol exists, like a tooth or whatever. The white beam is running through the prism and spreading out in thousands of colors. Mankind now is standing on the other side of the prism, watching the thousands and thousands of colors, and having the experience that that's the world. Thousands of things going on, and all what we have to discover is there and there and there. It's green and yellow and red. And so we run through our whole life on 1,000 paths searching for things, while at the same time on the other side of the prism there's just one single white beam containing all and everything within it. And then if it comes down to simplicity, we have to learn more and more going back to the source of all and everything. And that's the same with music, of course, you know. When to be honest, it's not a compliment. I'm not a guy of doing that sort of greasy compliments, but I've of course heard lots and lots of guitarists, and there are, maybe Brian will agree, a lot of great guys in the world within the last 40 years. But not talking about the speed he plays, not talking about the scales, talking about the single tone when you touch the finger onto the string and then just get the string into vibration. That's a reflection of your musical soul. Everything else comes later. And there is just one other guy. I had the honor to be on stage one time back in '67, and that was Hendrix. And Hendrix had the same. He was standing there, played just one note, and I thought the universe would explode. And no one really can explain what it is. There must be something behind it which is much bigger than all amplifiers and guitars and whatever.
Just one last question. Sí, buenos días. Yo quería preguntarle a Brian si nos podía adelantar algo sobre lo que va a hablar esta tarde en su conferencia y cuáles son las preguntas claves que se hace actualmente acerca de la astronomía.
No, you will have to come.
Muy bueno.
Thank you very much.